Hello everybody, so this is going to be the first build of several for the Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. This one is going to be called the Golden Lion build, and it is going to be a strength faith focused build. Just before I get into the equipment, just be mindful that some of the equipment does contain a spoiler for the final boss of the DLC, so just be warned before we get into this. I wanted it to have a golden red color aesthetic with a little bit of white from the beast helm. So I'm very much a fan of how this looks. Let's get into some of the equipment. So I centered this around the Death Knight's twin axes. I think it is a very interesting and useful Ash of War. It's a good weapon that scales off of strength and faith. It's pretty unlike a lot of the base game armaments that deal lightning damage. Most of those scale off of dexterity, not strength, so it's a very interesting option. In my offhand, I have the brass shield, which I don't use a whole lot, but it does match the gold aesthetic. And then the claw mark seal does good incantation scaling, considering the strength and faith stat leveling. For the armor, I have the divine beast helm, which boosts strength and dexterity. Does come with a small drawback of affecting the healing of flasks a little bit. And then for the rest of the set, I have the Young Lion's armor, Young Lion's gauntlets, and greaves. Really think it makes for a nice aesthetic here. The rest of the equipment, I have the Shard of Alexander, which is a staple in most of my builds. It boosts the attack power of Ash of Wars. Very useful in almost every build I have. Radagon Icon, which shortens spellcasting time. Phlox Canvas Talisman to boost the power of incantations. If you don't like incantations as much as I do, you can switch these out for a couple other options. The Rotten Wing Sword Insignia or the Millicent's Prosthesis are good options because the Ash of War, as we will see pretty soon, has a good multi-hit potential. Aside from that, Bullgoat's Talisman is a pretty good option. Or something like the Crusade Insignia would also be good, just going through PvE areas. Good damage boost on that one. Now the Death Knight's Twin Axe has a pretty great Ash of War in my opinion. So left trigger, that input just triggers a lightning dash forward, covers a pretty good amount of distance. Then when you follow that up immediately with the right trigger, you get the spinning axes attack. It's very great at catching rolls, pursuing someone in PvP that's running from you. It's very useful for those types of situations. Now let's look at some of the spells, since I am utilizing a pretty good amount of the new DLC spells for offensive capabilities. I have Golden Vow and Flame Grant Me Strength for buffs, the classic Lightning Sphere, and then the rest of the offensive spells are from the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. I have the multi-layered Ring of Light, Golden Arcs, Giant Golden Arc, Knight's Lightning Spear, which is quickly becoming one of my favorite spells, Land of Shadow, which is an interesting option I haven't experimented with much, and then Erdtree Heal for keeping hosts and summons alive. In terms of the physic, I would probably recommend going with the Lightning Shrouded Crack tier. I have the Cerulean Hidden tier to give myself a few seconds of not using FP. There's several other good options. Opaline Hard tier, that's a good one. I'll go with that for now. Alright, let's test this one out against some of the enemies around here. And then we'll hop into some PvP matches to showcase against other players. The giant golden arc is pretty good crowd control. Knight's Lightning Spear, very powerful. Does pretty good damage. And has decent tracking as well. Let's try out this Land of Shadow. Pretty normal moveset for the axe, aside from that follow-up after the Ash of War. But it covers a really nice amount of distance there. The Ash of War also, since it hits so many times in a quick succession, has a pretty good guard breaking opportunity. Before I forget, here are the stats I have. You don't need to be nearly as high a level as this. You can easily make this with a level 150 build. Some things I would go for are 60 vigor. I think that's going to be helpful for every build, honestly. Then I would try and get the 40 endurance needed to equip all of this gear, and then split evenly between strength and intelligence, or somewhat evenly, to boost your damage. Don't need to level dexterity. I have not spent points quite as optimally as I wanted. Initially started this build with a different weapon in mind. Key things I would go for are that faith and strength are almost evenly leveled, have good vigor so that I don't get one shot, and then enough endurance to carry all the equipment. And then pour all the extra points into mine for casting. Ready? See if I can. Alright. Tracking on the golden arc is actually a little bit better than I thought it would be. Good match. I find that using a combination of ranged spells and the Ash of War to close distance is really good to keep people on their toes. Hello. Okay, it's gonna be no buffs then. Fine by me. Oh! Really surprised at how these golden arcs can actually curve upwards when enemies jump. Oh. Wrong time to turn the blast. Gosh, that Azure War is just so good. So yeah, this has been the Golden Lion Strength Faith build. I hope you have enjoyed it, and there will be more to come.